Welcome to Coffee and Revelation. We have come to what many people consider to be the most difficult chapter, Revelation chapter 12. We're going to read verses 1 to 6 today. This is Thursday evening. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on its heads. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. And her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. You know, there used to be a sign that eccentric street preachers carried as they paraded on the high street. Behold, the end of the world is nigh. I guess you don't see that much nowadays, although actually I did see something today in Sydney. Someone warning politicians and bureaucrats that they had to repent. I wasn't quite sure this was a Christian message. But you don't see it much nowadays, maybe in comedy shows, but it does seem as though the doom and gloom mantle has been taken up by different collective hysterias. So when Britain voted to leave the EU, there was a kind of collective hysteria amongst some people. Donald Trump was elected, there was a collective hysteria. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, there was a big example given of the doomsday clock, which represents a countdown to a possible global doomsday scenario. We were told it had moved 30 seconds nearer to midnight due to the rise of strident nationalism. We're now apparently only 2.5 minutes away. I think the current hysteria is around climate change and global warming, and again, end of the world is nigh. Now, these things are all treated as fact and as solemn news by our news outlets. I think I wrote at the time of the doomsday clock, the same media that attacks Trump and others for making things up lauds a group of experts who treat as a fact the moving of an imaginary hand on an imaginary clock towards an imaginary apocalypse. Well, coming back to the real apocalypse, the Greek word for revelation, we come to this very, very difficult passage. Now, I think perhaps summarize the whole chapter in this way. It tells the story of a woman giving birth, being attacked by a dragon, and a great battle following the birth of her son. That's an image, by the way, that would have resonated with many, and not just Lord of the Rings fans. The Greeks and the Romans would have seen the woman as a goddess surrounded by the 12 signs of the zodiac. But John and the Jewish people would have understood her as Mother Zion, who gives birth to the Messiah. There's a great book, and I do think this is a really great book, by the Northern Irish writer Colin R. Nicholl, called The Great Christ Comment. And he explains in some detail and very convincingly that this chapter is about the Star of Bethlehem and the fulfillment of the prophecy of Balaam in Numbers. And I did find it very, very convincing. But I think the main thing here is that the child is the one who will rule the nations. So the devil wants to destroy him because he considers himself the ruler of the nations. There is war between the devil and his angels, and the great dragon Satan is hurled down. And then comes the song of victory, which will come on to all of that. But I think the main point here is that we do have an enemy, and we do have a spiritual enemy, and it is the devil. I do believe in the devil, if you like. I believe there is a devil. I believe that there are demons. I believe that there are personal spiritual powers which are opposed to God, to his church, to his son. I believe that we are in a spiritual warfare. And I also believe that the child of the woman conquers. Psalm 2, he will rule all the nations with an iron scepter. That was a promise made in the second Psalm. It's a promise that will be fulfilled and is being fulfilled. God bless you on this beautiful evening. Hope you like my flowers. I'm just again so thankful that our God reigns. See you tomorrow. Bye.